what people may assume or people's version of success, like whether that's money or a placement, and
Yeah.
like I don't do music for these things. I will. Money's gonna come.
Mm-hmm.
Placements, they're cool, but like I'm crafting something else over here.
Yeah.
And like I know the power that I wield in these chords. I know the power I wield when I write this and all this stuff. And so understanding that, and then family, and just like understanding that it's bigger than me.
Now here in The Cut, we challenge our guests to finish a tub of ice cream before the end of the conversation. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to the Cool Table. My name is Adriel Smiley, aka AdrielSmiley.com, aka Adriel Smiley Official, aka The Godfather. Now here in The Cut, we challenge our guests to finish a tub of ice cream before the end of the conversation. This is a return guest with some new heat. Welcome to the show, Clairmont The Second.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Now, tell everyone about the flavor that you chose and how you feel about getting this done. Of course, I want to give a big shout out to Eva's Original Chimneys. They're our ice cream sponsor for all of season 3. It's a little bit, what do you call that, soupy, smoothie-ish?
No, it's fine. The texture's not, it's just a lot of ice cream.
But you feel confident in getting that done?
No, I don't. I'm not going to lie. I got the apple pie.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I never had apple pie ice cream. So I think I'm just looking forward to trying this. And it's nut free, guys.
Yeah.
I have a nut allergy, so
Yeah, all y'all with the nut allergies, all the vegans, all the lactose intolerant people, Eva's got something for you. What's the verdict?
oh,
Fire?
interesting. Yeah, that's proper.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
it's kind of like real apple pie almost.
Yeah, that's sick. Okay.
That was one of the flavors we had at our first live
Good.
show, and I just want to make sure everyone wasn't lying to me and saying it was good. So this is going to be the confirmation that it actually was as good as they said it
Yeah,
was.
it's good. It's just kind of strange to have apple pie. Like I eat apple pie with ice cream.
Yeah,
So to have it as ice cream is just
it's almost too realistic.
it's an adjustment. It's an adjustment for sure. But
Your brain's gone for a loop right now.
yeah, this is cool though.
Okay, awesome. I'm happy to hear it. I think, this is something that's been with you for a long time. People like wanting you to drop music. That's like almost like its own storyline within itself. At your listening party, I told you that obviously I love the project, but I'm happy that it's actually dropping.
Yeah.
You made a joke that you're like, I'm not gonna go away for 5 years again.
Yeah.
And people were chirping like, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you feel about that kind of being part of your story? Almost like a Frank Ocean in a sense, where it's like, every time you come out, it's like, okay, we may never see him again type of shit.
Man, I think that people have kind of gotten, if people have been with this career for a while, like they kind of got used to it.
Mhm.
And I think the difference though with this is the longest I've taken not doing music. The last album came out 2020.
Yeah.
And like here we are 2024, and
Mhm.
like I've been not silent in between. Like 2022 I put out Full Circle,
Yeah.
and that came with a short film. So
Mhm.
like that took a lot out of us. I
Mhm.
did that with a couple friends. B shot it. So shout out B. And yeah, like that just took so much strength to do in the midst of a lot of things going on in life.
Mhm.
So I was around, but I think that for those the 2 years to follow up until this point, it's been pretty silent. I've dropped like a couple songs in between,
Mhm.
but it's been pretty silent. And so I don't know. I feel like I actually don't go away for that long. As
Mhm.
like I was there used to be a point where I was dropping an album every year.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So like it was 2013, 14, 16, 17, 19, 2020.
Yeah.
So like this has just been the longest break, but it hasn't even been the longest break since like I've dropped 2 projects in between. Like the 3-piece came out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's not the length of how long I've been silent, but it's like how deafening the silence was. I think it was just the most silent I've been.
And I think it's almost a credit to your artistry because I think it feels longer than it is.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like people
Thank you.
want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Where it's like when you go away, it's like they can feel it. Because I agree with you. Like the narrative of that, like Clairmont be dipping away and we don't see him is like, it just exists.
Yeah.
Regardless of how long you actually take away. So to me, it is more a compliment of like, okay, like
you just want some new stuff.
Yeah. Like they actually do want to hear from you.
Yeah.
And I think that, you said it before, like this is going to be almost you being more consistent and dropping more often. What is kind of the mentality with that? Because I think people have wanted that from you for a long, long time.
I think it's just the well, first to piggyback off what you were just saying, I think that it's like me going away, it's important that I communicate with people and with my, whether it's fans, friends, family, that I'm also like a person too. Like I can't just drop. Like once the music, like the music world and like all of that stuff is done, and like you go home from an event or having a show, like I have real stuff to deal with. You have a life,
yeah.
And I think that like a lot of artists are moving as machines, and I appreciate hard work. I'm someone who's done that for a long time, but I also appreciate like taking the time to yourself and like just breathing. So I always want to make sure that comes through. So when I'm gone for a while, it's like like I know you guys want new music, but like I have to do this and I have to go here and I have to deal with this family thing. And then to answer your question, I think the mentality, the reason why I want to be more consistent now is not necessarily like that I want to. I just feel like it's time to. Like it's a little bit of those years that I was silent. I wasn't just silent doing nothing. I've been, the world's been expanding, so it's had to take longer. Like there's even videos that we wanted to shoot where I've had to like wait a whole year to shoot just because of weather and like just like I need specific things. So I've been crafting and building an entire universe behind the scenes, and I just laid it out in a way that like this is coming this year, something's coming next. It's like ready to go. So yeah, I think I'm just in that kind of mode right now. Like I have so much art, and I think that like archives are important. I think that preservation is really important, and I want to be able to share all my art, everything I've been working on. Like I just want people to hear the stuff that I feel like they should hear, and there's a lot of it.
I think it's also that balance of like the capacity to deal with real life, and put it into the music. And I thought about this with your project in particular because I think on this project you have a few moments where you like talk almost directly about stuff going on in your life, where it's not like a bar on the third verse and if you know, like, and sometimes it's the chorus. Yeah. And I think that is, I think for the listener, they're going to understand way more of kind of you putting those two together, because I don't want to take shots at anyone. I'm not going to name names. But there are artists who it's like the music isn't really about anything in particular, or their life. Trust. It's like I could rap Money, Clothes, or Hoes at any time, and so that's almost like a separate part of their life in a sense. Yeah. Where I think you also put yourself into your music. Yeah. And so when you talk about you having to like live life, I think about of the parts of your life that are in the music that you kind of have to live for them to even make it into the music. So yeah, I totally understand you kind of like finding that balance. Absolutely. And I think everyone's excited for that.
Yeah, I think I think that I've been really disappointed in a lot of stuff coming out. Like, I don't want to be a hater, but a lot of stuff coming out, I've been just very, very disappointed, from new people to people that I've been fans of, etc. And I think that a big part of that, and like it's beyond music. It's just it's like it's music, it's rollouts, it's artwork, it's things surrounding it. I've just been very let down, very underwhelmed, and a big part of that, and a big part of my recent gripes have been like just not believing people. Like I don't believe what you're talking about. I don't believe that you even like this thing that, you know, you're trying to emulate. I don't believe you like any, like, you know that this works maybe for some people,
but it's not you.
And I think that a lot of people don't know how to articulate that, but that's what's going on. Like there's a disconnect because you don't.
Yeah, because
you don't.
It's not coming from you.
Real.
Yeah,
it's not real, and I think that like, bro, like that's the biggest issue that I have. Like you could even be somebody who raps money, you know, bitches, like well, all of that, all the time. But if I see that and I believe that, I'm probably gonna like that a lot more than somebody who's like,
you know, you hit it right in the head. Like somebody I think of a lot as Wiz Khalifa, and I used to be a huge Wiz Khalifa fan. Like I seen him in concert a couple of times, like huge. And we used to make the joke where like, is Wiz ever gonna rap about something else? And someone said to me, they're like, he keeps doing it because it keeps being true.
Yeah.
And it's like once Wiz stops doing that, then he'll stop rapping about it.
Yeah.
And you talk about like something being authentic is like, it's like if that's what you're living, at least rap that. But if you're living something else, then let's see something else. So I agree with you, and I think there's almost a part where authenticity is like coming back in terms of it standing so tall and people being into it.
Trust.
The two artists I think of this year in terms of authenticity being a huge part for them is one, Larry June.
Okay,
you know he's kind of I don't say taking Dom Kennedy's whole swag because Dom dropped the project, but anyone who was there knows this is like, you know.
I was listening to Dom Kennedy like yesterday.
Yeah. No, Larry's a Dom disciple for sure.
If you know, that's I think that they would make something crazy.
Yeah,
do they have anything? I
don't think they do, but I feel like, you know, in hip hop when someone says y'all can't work together.
Yeah.
Like we don't got no Ghostface Action Bronson.
Yeah.
Like it's just one of those things, man. Like the pride. And then Schoolboy Q.
Word. Yeah.
And I feel like that authenticity is coming back where people can really feel it in the music, and it's like, okay, I want this, rather than this over here that I don't feel is as real.
Yeah.
You had a few songs that got big reactions at your release party. Did any of those surprise you, of a certain song that you're like, oh, I didn't think the song would get like a big pop?
Nah, I knew. Yeah. Come on. Yo, I've been working on an album for 5 years.
That's the right answer.
I knew. Like every single part that people reacted to, I saw it.
You knew it coming.
Yeah. And like, bro, I just put like so much into it. Like to me, like there's elements of, you know, familiar sounds on the project that people are familiar with in regards to me, but in regards to just like the world and music. But I don't think anything sounds like the project itself.
No,
like when,
I'd agree with that.
When the songs kind of start to develop, like, you know, you hear the intro, you know, maybe some chords, whatever it is, then the drums come in maybe at the beginning or like near the end of the song, and like it's the construction of the vocals to the, you know, the synths and all of that stuff. Like there's just nothing that sounds like it. And it was a very personal project, but I also knew that like people were just gonna be like confused as to what's happening. Like this.
Yeah, I think sonically there's just so many moments in the project that how I describe it is like, if someone wasn't aware of you, they would not think this is all the same artists. I think that's the best way to describe it. Is like there's so many parts in this project where it's like, if you don't know Clairmont, you're definitely being like, is this like a compilation album or like it's like a mixtape with different people? And the second half of Born to Be, with that like whole breakdown,
the jungle part,
yeah. That one, I saw a lot of people getting excited. That was obviously like a huge deal.
Yeah.
Like, tell me the idea of putting that kind of at the end of the song, because I think that's a lot of people's favorite part of that record, which is already a great record. But it's kind of like, I'm giving you another reason to like it.
I don't know. I just it just felt like it made sense. Like that was actually one of the earlier songs on the project that was done. So in 2019, that was like, it wasn't finished, it wasn't complete because it's been 5 years. I've done stuff to it, but yeah, that whole thing was there. And I remember I had a stream on Twitch like back then, and I teased like what I was working on. That was one of the things, and like that was a part where people were like, "Yo, what the heck?" And I don't know. It just felt like it made sense to go there. I didn't want to put it throughout the whole song. I think that a big issue with a lot of in my opinion, with a lot of artists is they find something that works for them or like maybe garners a big reaction, positive or negative, and they're like, oh, this is a money bag right here.
Yeah.
Let me keep doing it. And then they play it out really fast.
They would have 3 of those tracks. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And then they just sound less good every single time. And then that's not even only in music, but that's like in technology, that's like in rollouts. It's in every single thing. People are like, this is good. Let's try to do it again and again and again. It's like, that's not how you get things that create those moments that you're looking for.
Rinse and repeat.
So, a lot of, even throughout the whole project, there's a lot of things that kind of come in and then they go away. And like some of my favorite parts, like you'll only hear maybe like twice throughout the project, like, or even on a song. You know, like I don't like to repeat too many of the same parts, just because like dynamic is important. I think you know, when we look at some of the most legendary songs, like these, like back in the day, these guys didn't have drum machines and, you know, sequencers. It was, these guys had to actually play. You had to practice, you know? So that's something that I've really, really I take very serious. So
the fact that you said dynamic, that's where I was going to go next, because I feel like a lot of these songs have a dynamic quality to them, even though there's like so many more of these like slower, like neo-soulish records. And you found a way to make a lot of those records dynamic without bringing down the energy of the project. Was that something you thought about at all? Or, because I think that this project especially, because there's so many of those records, I always think about like, if someone's not gonna hear the full project, this is a project that you need to hear in full. Like, that's what I think personally. Yeah. But I'm like, this is 2024. You know, there's a good shot someone's gonna only hear one of these records, two of these records. So did you think about kind of how you can have these records in here but not bringing down the energy of the project as a whole?
I think that, man, when I work on music, it's very like natural. So I don't really think much about that stuff. Like, what's going to make the best song to me? Then that's like kind of, that's pretty much it. And like, I don't, like, I really work from a place of just what I feel. Like, you know, how does this chord feel? Like, how do these chords together feel? Like this part. So it's just really pretty much based on feeling.
What feels good.
And like, I used to even get mad. I used to get annoyed because people would always talk about my production or talk about the fact that I do a bunch of things. Like, you know, I direct, I edit, all this stuff. And, but I'm like, yo, but I rap very well too, guys. Like, like I have bars. Like and I think that people don't really.
Do you still feel like your bars are getting slept on?
Yeah, I think so. Not as of late. I put out a single at like the top of the summer. It was Leaving the World Behind. And then I put out another one called Almost Got Me. And like those really got some crazy reactions.
I was gonna say Leaving, definitely everyone was like,
yeah, because like I'm annoyed because like I could rap. I don't know what's wrong with you guys, bro.
It's crazy you say that, and this is what I always think of as like the artist is seeing differently from how we're seeing on the outside. Because I always thought of that first. Like I think of him like he's rapping well, but also doing the rest of this. Yeah. You know, so I would look at it the other way around, but it feels like from what you're saying, you're hearing kind of the opposite of it's like it's so impressive that he's doing all these things, and I'm like, no, but he's rapping. Like,
but I'm good at all these things too. Like I could also rap, and I think that like when it's a conversation about rap itself, that's when I kind of like I'm not as lyricism. Like I think that a lot of the lines that people react to from me aren't even the craziest things that I've constructed.
I just think that's not important to you because I think you care more about the song itself.
Yeah, of course.
You know, like I think like you've created this in yourself. I'm like, I care about the song being good. I don't need y'all to see this one bar. Yeah. You know? So I think like that's part of it. Yeah. I wish the listener was more sophisticated. But
it is what it is, though.
You know, like, it is because I'm telling you, like I never would have thought that. Like if you said
no, I appreciate that perspective.
Said, Adrian, what do you think is my most underrated skill? I would have named off something before I said rapping.
Interesting.
So it's like to think that people are not catching these lyrics because I've always been a lyrics person, just because I didn't grow up with hip hop in that same way.
Yeah.
So when I got
Same.
into hip hop, I was like, okay, like now I'm here to peep what's going on. And because I'm a drummer, I always feel like the music is setting the table for whatever the lyrics is.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you got one person telling this story and this person telling another story. Kind of like a TV show.
Yeah.
You know, like in Sopranos, you got Tony going through what he's going through, and his wife's going through something completely different.
Yeah.
And it's two separate stories that are intertwined.
Yeah.
And so I feel like your music is kind of setting the table for what you have to say.
Absolutely.
It's like I'm creating the mood, the room, so that when I say what I got to say, it can be felt. Before we actually get into the album itself, because I got some questions about the album.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk about the title.
Yeah.
Talk about what that title means and kind of like what that is connected to.
They said it would rain. I think that a way I come up with titles is maybe a phrase that I would say during a time period in my life. And I've said this phrase because that's what's going on in my life. So I actually didn't even think of this title. Like, this wasn't even, when I first made the first version of this project, this wasn't the title. And that title that I had for this will still be used as, I've already built the world, but this wasn't even the second title. Remember I said I wasn't going away for another 5 years, so like I already have everything kind of. And it was the project after this one that I had first, and this just made sense for the other one. And but it also feels like I didn't just choose it because like it made sense with the other title, but I had a few different names of like how I wanted to phrase this title, but I think that this one just sounded the best. And it just kind of, I just feel like over these past few years, there's been a lot of crap just going on, a lot of things happening, and just a lot of negativity, a lot of doubt coming from outside, a lot of just, you know, whether it's regards to me or just the world or anything, like there's a lot of, you know,
low vibrational energy.
Yeah, you know, a lot of stuff that people could think is gonna go wrong, or like, you know. And I think for me in like my career, like there's been so many moments in the past few years specifically that like really, you know, was really a bad time. And even in the midst of it looking like success, you know, like it didn't feel like it because a lot of stuff was going on behind the scenes. So yeah, they said it would rain. ... There's an ellipses there. So I mean, that's also something to think about. And then I think when you listen to the project,
I think when you listen to the project, the name makes more sense. But when I hear the phrase "they said it would rain," it's because rain is used, at least like in the English language, in that phrase of like something negative. Like when it rains, it pours.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah,
and originally, like, the idea of rain is a positive, like, you know, we need
blessings.
rain.
That's what we know it as.
You know, so to see it kind of flipped of like, they said it would rain is in the idea of like, they said it was going to get crazy. And it did. And the song I think of a lot is Crash Site. And in there, you have this part where you said, my family been through too much. I like that part so much because, one, it's like not just saying what you've been through, it's talking about the family as a whole. And I feel like that's a specific choice in terms of being like, listen, I went through this, like I'm the one hurting, but it's like, no, like my family is the one who went through this. So talk about that choice, and then as well, like that song in general.
I think that a lot of when I write, the reason I make music like at the capacity that I do is like a lot of it is family based. It's like it's for the family. And I think that a lot has happened in the past few years in regards to my career, in regards to like, and it doesn't look all that, but like behind the scenes, like, like stuff is happening. And I think that like, I got angry in a lot of ways. And in that anger, in all the things that were like, you know, in my opinion, failures, or things that I seen at first, like, oh, this is bad, like this is a situation that's went wrong. I've seen how God has kind of blessed me in a different way, where it's like, yeah, this didn't happen because of this, and you didn't get this because of this. So when I started realizing that, like, there's things that I wanted to say, like even writing this record, I'm like, or even writing Almost Got Me that came out, and like it's a very angry track, like I'm getting at everybody, and I only felt like I could do that now because of a couple things, and one is just like really tapping into my faith and tapping into God, and just like understanding that, like, all right, God's on my team, like I'm cool, like all this like worldly stuff, all this like, you know, what people may assume or people's version of success, like whether that's money or a placement, and like I don't do music for these things. Money's gonna come. Placements, they're cool, but like I'm crafting something else over here.
Yeah.
And like I know the power that I wield in these chords. I know the power I wield when I write this and all this stuff. And so understanding that, and then family, and just like understanding that it's bigger than me.
Yeah.
And I think that once you understand that music or like your, you know, your art career or whatever is bigger than just you, like it's a whole, like there's, you know, there's your area, there's your country, there's your family, there's friends, there's a whole bunch of, there's the planet, you know, like you have a choice what you want to do with this thing. And I think me kind of understanding that this is just bigger than me, kind of gave me the freedom and the strength and the power to do what I'm doing now. But a lot that's rooted in just like family, really, and just like it's about family. It's not just me here, you know.
I think that's a big realization that takes a lot of people some time to get to. Of the idea of it is not just you. I know it's like we say it all the time, and it's something that people always kind of mention in passing.
Yeah. But
I do think actually properly understanding that is almost like reaching to another level mentally. I thought about this the other day. Luka Doncic won, I think it was the ESPY's NBA Player of the Year.
Okay.
And they go, speech, speech, speech. And he waves them off. And before he sits down, he goes, I couldn't have done it with any of you guys.
Yeah.
And that's all he said.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it's like in passing, not that serious.
Yeah.
But for that to be the only thing that he said, I thought that as an understanding of like, yes, you are clearly the star here. Everything's going to cater to you, but it's not just you.
Yeah.
You know, how you play, how the team plays is funding someone else's family, someone else's livelihood. And so I think that on this project, it's almost like you're not by yourself. And that makes any sense? Like there's some records where, yeah, it might be just you rapping or you doing like, you know, a mix of rapping and some singing and some different voices, but you rapping from the perspective of like, no, family behind me, like Sprint, like, you know, it's all of us. I think Crash Site is obviously the most obvious one out of all of those.
Yeah.
But you have a couple of them. There's one song, Trina.
Yeah.
And you have this part where you said my catalog is my catalog is my leverage.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And this has like been a theme for you. We talked about this before. Like this is not new for you to say this. I just want to know kind of where you're at in that mindset, because I feel like you've had your own relationship with the industry and the behind the scenes. And I think that is part of why the narrative around you going away exists.
Yeah.
Is because there are artists who we see often who people probably don't think are as talented as you are. And I think that that's a big part of that narrative. So I guess give everyone the update on kind of where you're at now with that relationship with the industry, the idea of my catalog as my leverage. Just give everyone an update on that.
There's a lot more than one industry. And I don't think people know that. Over the past few years, I've had to decide on what game I want to play and what I want to be a part of. everybody thinks, yo, this is the way you play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Say, well, I don't want to play that game. I'm going to play a different one.
Yeah.
And I think that even like in a non-disrespectful, like respectfully, people are just kind of, they don't have that factor that has them be like, you know what, I'm not messing with any of these guys right now. I'm not messing with anybody. Like I don't care to piss that person off. I don't care.
Yeah.
And people just don't have that.
No.
And I think that that's what separates really good artists from the legends.
Yeah.
And every legend that I know that I look up to has broken many rules and have restructured things and done it in their own way. So my catalog is definitely, it's a heavy catalog. I have a lot of really good stuff. In terms of like my relationship with like the industry, like, I mean, I don't know, like what industry, you know, like it's there's a few different ones, and I think the trick is to make you think that there's one way to do it, and I'm gonna keep championing that there's not one way to do it. So like when everybody's trying to give me advice, it's like you need to ask yourself, first of all, you need to ask me what I want first, because you're gonna give me advice on how to get more followers on this or more views on that, but like, did I tell you I had an issue with that right now? Did I tell you what my actual issue? Like, if we haven't had that conversation,
then what are we talking about?
So I think that, I guess that's kind of my view on it.
I think you're one of the people look to in terms of that path of doing things differently. And I think you're right of a lot of people think it is one way to do it. This is the way to go. Yeah. But to me, that comes down to self-perception. And do you think you're good enough to do it a different way?
Yeah.
Do you think you have the talent, the catalog, the skill? So I think that's the bigger part of it is if you don't think you're good enough to do it this way, maybe that's why you think this is the way to go.
And so this is my thing though. That's fine. But just say that. Because if you're talking like you're the best, now we're gonna have to now we have to have a different conversation.
But I agree with you.
You know what I'm saying?
But no one's saying that. That's
nobody's. Well, this is the thing. I don't think people have to necessarily say that they don't feel confident in themselves. I think that if you're talking crazy, you should live what you're talking. If you think you're the best, if you think you're the greatest to ever touch this, move accordingly.
And that's
my issue.
No. I think you're right, because I feel like this is such a crazy example, but I said this on another pod last week. When the pandemic happened and you started seeing like celebrities and rappers and entertainers like starting having an OnlyFans, I said, "Oh, so you're broke." Like that's the first thing that came to my mind.
I get that. I don't necessarily have an opinion on it, but I'm also thinking in my head like, but to me, I mean, if you want to do that, then okay,
you're by your choice.
Yeah, that's cool. But
and that's what I think of what this is. To you, the major label is the way to go because you have to do it this way because of where you stand, where you see yourself, how you move.
Yo, even beyond like labels, it's like it's like it's the ass kissing. Like with certain, like it's just like. It's labels, it's people.
Oh my God, it's everyone. It's everyone. Bro, yeah. It's so much. But I think, here's the thing. The ass kissing to me is a reflection of how you feel about your art. And I know it's not 1 + 1 = 2 in that. Yeah, obviously, there's a ton of context, a ton of different intersections. But that's personally what I think when I see some of that kind of over ass kissing. Yeah. Because if the art is good enough, you don't got to kiss nothing.
You know, and that's what I think... That's why I feel like sometimes it feels like I don't have friends at times because like I'm not trying to kiss ass, and a lot of these guys operate based off of that. Like it's just like it's a weird cult, bro. I don't know how to explain it. Like
a weird cult is accurate.
You know, like it's
Especially in Canada, I would say.
Yeah.
Especially in Canada,
It gets strange. I've heard it's strange everywhere, but like obviously I don't live everywhere, so it gets very strange. And I think that like it's even a thing of like, yo, if you know, like for me, like I'm cool with people, like, and I respect a lot of people, and I'll treat everybody with respect. I'm not gonna do the extras, you know, at the sake of like, you know, what I'm able to do. Like I'm not here for you. Like I'm an adult. You're an adult. But when it feels like you're trying to take advantage, and then I'm like, yo, nah, and then man's want to call me weird. It's just like that doesn't make sense to me.
It's like I'm supposed to just be cool with that. Like I'm supposed to just,
because I wouldn't treat you like this, and also you wouldn't treat somebody else you consider in a higher position like this. Just because I don't have followers as many, that doesn't come on. But a lot of people in my position are trying to, you know, land that placement, land that thing, which is cool. That's fine if that's what you want to do. That's not what I'm hating on.
The word that I'm avoiding us using, because there's someone watching this right now who it applies to, who is hurt by just like saying what we're saying. And the word I'm avoiding is integrity. Because I think that trying to be successful is not like a disingenuous thing to do. Yeah. You know, if you want to be successful, want to get these placements, like you should not be bashed for that.
No,
so that's
absolutely
why I'm avoiding that word. But I think there's a part of it where how much game do you want to play?
Like at the end of the day, anybody can make any decision. I don't even have an issue with the decisions or people's opinions. It's more so if it feels like they're folding on themselves, and I could see that. That's my issue. It's the non-real factor.
And
just
it's
be yourself.
And it's like, how do you feel about it? Because I think that's the biggest thing. And it's crazy. I'm about to quote Kanye, but Kanye said this is the best. And it was him defending Bruce Jenner.
Okay.
And he said, the worst thing you can be is not be able to be yourself.
Okay.
And it's like having success doesn't change that. Even with success, you want to feel like you can be yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that feeling of like being yourself and authentic and true to yourself, some people don't associate that with success. And I think that's kind of where the real divide is like in their head, they're like, be successful. I've already accepted I'm gonna have to change who I am, be different.
Yeah, everybody has a different success rubric, and like, you know, for some people it's really just funds, it's just money, and I can't even like hate on that. Like if that's what you're going for, then I can't say you're doing anything. Like
no, that's true.
If it comes down to a thing of like, okay, that's your version of success, but now you're going to try and either stop or invade my world of success.
That's a different story.
Then say, okay, like you could do that over there, but now in this vicinity, this is not what we do.
I don't have to follow your rules.
Yeah. But like that's just kind of like an idea to like obviously a whole heap of conversations. But my issues is not even with the actual thing so much. Well, sometimes it is, of course, but it's mainly the people. Like if I don't believe you, we have an issue. There's a disconnect. I don't believe you. I don't believe what you're saying. I don't believe how you're operating. I don't believe you. You're not telling the truth. And I can see it.
You know what's crazy? I think being in this position, I'm kind of privileged in a sense where I see a lot of artists in different scenarios.
Yeah.
You know, not just in the video shoot, not just how they show themselves online. And I've been saying this for a long time is I met a few artists like in the early days of the radio show. And they were money, cars, and hoes. Those type of artists. And homeboy showed up with his girlfriend in like 7 years.
Okay.
And also, you know, you're allowed to be in love,
of course.
like, you know. But I said, you got like 40 songs out. and not nowhere could I tell that you're in this like, you know, committed relationship, you know. Yeah. And that happens pretty often, you know, like, you know, that's just part of it. But the part that really got me was this guy was doing this like, you know, freestyle video we were doing, and he needed a couple extra takes. And of course, in the room, you kind of keep the energy up, like, no, you got this.
Yeah.
And it became almost like past the point where we stopped saying, you got this. And his girl was like kind of hyping him up, and he took some time, and his girl like gave him a pep talk.
Yeah.
And I said, like, she ain't making it to no records. Like, she's holding you down. She making it to no records. And that's what we talk about, like, it being real is like, that's your life. You know, your life is like this person is kind of holding up your career and like propelling you and pushing you and motivating you. And when you get into the booth, you rap about all the stuff that's not even happening.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about like, is it real? Do I believe it?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't need you to rap about putting your kids to bed. We don't need that song.
But you know what? What if we do need that song? Because I actually think that we need more of those songs. I'm being dead ass. Like, I talk to my brother a lot, and like he's a father, and I'm like, just gotta be a dad, I think that like.
More folding clothes, more wet dreams.
And I don't think it's like as, plain as like actually putting like, but I think it's funny because I also saw Andre talk about Andre 3000. He was saying how like what people want to hear me rap about, gonna get checkups at the doctors and stuff. And it's like, yeah, maybe. Like, we don't know. And I think
you're right. You might be right.
And I think the honesty is what makes the best records, because like even on a, if we're thinking about like the best albums to me have a range of like styles and everything, but also like it's a balance. Like even with the newest project, like the best way I could describe it is duality and balance. Like there's times where I feel like if I say like every time I have faith in the hood, all my hoodies end up with a face. Like I feel like that sometimes, you know what I mean, but it's not all the time. And I think that like. People just need to talk about how they feel like at all times, and I think the balance is good. I need this guy's talking about, there's anybody who's good enough at writing songs can talk about putting their kids to bed and it being beautiful. But also what people don't do anymore is they don't know how to choose the right sonics for the song. So, like, if you're trying to rap over a beat that sounds like, I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds like Rack City. We don't want to hear you talk about your kids.
On a Rack City beat. Like, that doesn't make sense. But, like, maybe it's time for you to, like, tap into some jazz. Maybe it's time for you to tap into some soul music or, like, something else. And I think that's one thing that I will gas myself up for. Is, like, I really pay attention to what I'm writing and how it feels lyrically in context of the music. And I think that people forget that songs are 50% is the beat and 50% is the vocals on it. And you can't have that lacking. Like even like there is cases where the beat saves the verses and there's even rarer cases where the verses save the beat.
Yeah.
But I think that the meticulousness and the crafting of those two things has been overlooked in the past few years.
I think overlooked, especially a lot in hip hop. Like I think outside of hip hop, that's a way more prevalent. Yeah. But I think in hip hop, it's not looked at as the same because I think
that's why these albums fail all the time.
And we're in the loop era because how I say it is this is, can I know what the tone of the song is without the lyrics? Yeah. Like they say this in reality TV where it's like if I put the TV on pause, can I tell the story of what just happened? Or sorry, not on pause, on mute. Like if it's on mute and I just show the faces, do I know what happened? I feel like that's how the music should be. Is if there's no lyrics here, I just hear the sonics of the song. Can I kind of figure out what direction we're headed in, what the tone of the song is? And I feel like a lot of hip hop doesn't have that quality where it's like just no lyrics. This could be a song about anything.
Yeah, and I think that's a cool way to look at it. But I also will say that it's sometimes juxtaposition is cool. So like even if it is a Rack City beat and you're talking about your kids, how do you make it make sense? How do you?
That's part of the magic. Because I think we talked a lot about this in the Album Mode podcast where a song will be upbeat, but if you hear what they're saying, they're not happy right now. Yeah. And the king of this was Juice WRLD, where everyone's dancing and shaking ass to his records, and that boy is depressed. Yeah. And it's like that kind of makes the record special in its own way. Yeah. But I think there's an intentionality to that of like, okay, you did that on purpose. Yeah. We see how that works.
Yeah, I think it worked. I think the thing to understand is that there's just so many options. There's just so many
It
options.
doesn't have to be one way. Yeah.
There's a lot of options, and like there could be so many outcomes. So yeah.
Before we start to wrap up, I'm gonna run something by you. Okay,
Absolutely.
we've been talking about this behind the scenes, and I feel like you are probably the perfect person to talk about this with.
Oh my gosh.
So we've been talking about having additional hip hop charts. In hip hop, we have the one hip hop and R&B chart, and we recently split the hip hop and R&B chart. But for the longest time, they were on the same chart. But in other genres, let's use rock as one, alternative rock, indie rock, metal, all have their own chart. Now, hip hop hasn't had that, but I think that would be something that hip hop could use to kind of tell a better story of what the culture has been. So with that in mind, are there any kind of charts in particular that you think that would be useful for this era? Like I thought of like an electronic hip hop chart that's for the Yeats, the Playboi Carti, Kenny Mason, that kind of style. The contemporary hip hop chart, which would be the older rappers, Styles P, Freddie Gibbs,
the old heads.
The over 40 group, the kind of trap chart, which is your Gunnas, your Lil Babies. Anything you would add to that of like charts that you think hip hop could add?
I'm a chart hater, bro.
Chart hater.
Yeah. Cause I think that I do think that there should be more charts if we're gonna have them, but I also think that there's like I think there's too much value placed in charts. I think that a song or even an album that everybody hates can go platinum.
Facts.
And I think once you know that, to me, it doesn't really.
Well, that's why I want these other charts. I thought of someone like Freddie Gibbs. I'm not the biggest Freddie Gibbs fan, but over this past 6-7 years, he's clearly come into his own and had this huge resurgence.
Yeah,
and he's never going number one on the Billboard charts. That's just not happening.
And I think people need to be okay with that.
But how do we kind of contextualize and tell the story of his run without just saying you had to be there?
I think
if there's an old head chart and he goes number one on the old head chart 6 times, then it's like he has that kind of stat that can measure what it is. But I feel like there's so much that you have to be in the moment to know. Yeah. And I guess that part bothers me because I have 2 younger brothers who it's like trying to explain to them, I have a brother who's 20 years old and his only Kendrick album he really knows is Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He knows about Good Kid, Mad City, but he obviously wasn't there for it.
I'm actually a fan of You Had to Be There. I think that...
okay, let's hear that.
I think that certain things, what makes those moments special is the fact that not everybody's there. And I think right now everybody's trying to be there and everybody's trying to be in everything. And what that's doing is it's blurring the lines of who people are. There's nobody's themselves. A lot of people, everybody's trying to apply the same thing to the same thing and try to do it the same way. And at some point, no one's gonna be themselves. I went to a concert and I'm not saying you have to be one way to go to a concert or different music, but it was so hard for me to identify what people are even really into just because you would see it. You would see it on the way somebody dresses. You would see it in the way somebody walks. And I think that just made everything so cool. And it's not even to put people in a box, but it's kind of to do the opposite with the world. I think that we need the variation.
We need more individuality.
Absolutely. And so with You Had to Be There moments, I think there's something so special about, telling somebody why they should have been there. And then now you could tell the story of your brother that, listen, in 2012, Kendrick put out, Good Kid, Mad City, and this is what was going on at the time. And we did, and I actually enjoy putting on, new, a lot of these guys are new. A lot of these artists that we know now that are in the scene post 2020. Right, I'm one of the few guys who was here prior to that in a pretty in a way, without trying to gas it up too much.
You could say, you're a guy.
Yeah, I was around. So I remember what it was 10 years ago, and I enjoy talking to these yo, bro. We had KJK to Juma, we had Matthew Progress. Shy Wisdom, Brendan Phillip,
you're dropping some names right now.
These are the guys. Spec One, all of these guys, these guys taught me how to be black, yo. If I'm being honest, like
Facts.
but like these guys,
They set the tone, like
these are the like they were all like around my brother's age, you know what I mean? And they showed me, you know, Bazaar was a group at the time, unfortunately not a group anymore, and like they all kind of that come up in 2014. Those times was real sick, and like people weren't there for that.
I'm half with you, but I think.
My issue is it depends on the level. I think I have an issue with this, like that 10 years ago, Toronto in particular, and it not being known more because I just think it needed to be bigger. But in regards to somebody like Freddie Gibbs or somebody at that level, he is famous enough where like a documentary could still be made. It could still be talked about in the streets. And quite frankly, the numbers are half the story, especially when you have labels buying numbers. You have the lines are.
I guess it's not chart because I want something that's not number. And I guess where I'm like the separate charts is like if on the old head chart you can go number one selling 30K. You know, so it's like you just have crazy numbers. For you could still see okay, Benny was number one. Whatever it is, but why I think of like I want to find a way to show it.
I think we just need to. Not to cut you off, but I feel like we just need to change the value of what it means to like what a statistic is. Like I think everybody
influences the stat.
You know what I mean? And I think everybody jumps to Billboard first or like these charts first. But I think we just need to change the mindset of like, yo, but even though that song was number one in my area or like even in the streets, this is the song that was being played in the cars every time this is the song. And I think that's going to be different everywhere. And like it looks big, like the stats look big, but I like in my opinion like it's also like a part of the world. Like it's only a piece. It's actually not as big as they're not to me at least.
As they're making
that's not what to me what the most important stories or the most important artists, like there's always like a documentary. There's always like, and there's always something that sometimes doesn't hit right away. People don't find out the magnitude of something. Sometimes it takes time, and unfortunately, that's what it's.
That's what it is. It takes time.
And like, the part of you had to be there, and like, yo, this is what it was at this time. Like, I think everybody's trying to do everything and have everything, and like, but some things need to be gate kept because like gate kept to an extent. You know, like this is where you lose skill. This is where you lose the sharpness. This is like all these things certain things need to be protected and be passed down.
Protected is a good way to put it. This is why we asked you this question of all people. This is why we asked you. But the group I think of all the time with this is Little Brother.
Yo, and
I'm like, how do you explain to someone what Little Brother was in that moment? Because that version of the internet doesn't even exist anymore. Like when I talked to Matthew Progress, we talked about him like getting into rapping from a Wu-Tang chat room. There's not even crazy chat rooms anymore like that.
You know, and I think that like, bro, like I'm born 97, so I'm young and old right now, and like we got the tail end of like
the blog internet era.
Yo, but even I also got to experience internet in the early days too, like, you know, like early 2000s and
AOL.
Bro, I remember you could find so much cool things on the internet now. Now you search something up, there's like 4 websites you're going to every single time. And I feel like that like is so disheartening. Before, like there were so many creative sites, there were so many creative things to do, and all these different things that have like made people what they were and made things cool and legendary all came from people being themselves.
You know, it definitely came from that individuality. And I think maybe the answer that you gave without realizing is like the documentary part of it and things take time. Because I think that is one thing that I really, really struggle with in terms of putting people onto new music or like showing like the younger people like what was cool back in the day.
Yo, me too. I agree with you. I also have that issue too. Like I want people to know now. But like I think with the career I've had, like I'm kind of like also in that world of like, yo, like as soon as somebody hears it, but it's disheartening. But
you're a part of it where your music can stand alone. Where if someone is like trying to explain, yo, if you guys knew about Clairmont in 2015, you know, but they'll hear it and they'll be like, oh, I could understand, because that's what usually gets it for me. Like I remember showing my brother to Zion by Lauryn Hill for the first time.
Okay.
He's born in 2004. He don't know nothing about none of that. By 2004, Lauryn Hill is, you know?
Yeah.
But he has that album on vinyl now.
Yeah.
You know, just him hearing the record, he was like, okay, I understand why everyone loves her. Like, the music is enough.
Yeah.
You know, so for some people, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But why I talk about Little Brother is, I was not even aware of their Spotify stats, nothing like that. You go to their page, they maybe have one song over like 3 million plays.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, I'm like, how is this?
Yeah. I still even like, there's still even so much more studying that I have to do. Like there's things that I just wasn't even there for. And there was things that I was alive for but wasn't there for.
Exactly.
And like some people are alive but just not in the same spot. So like, yeah, like I can't lie. Like I'm kind of like, I want my favorite stuff to go number one. That would be really sick, but I also understand what the world is. And so I place my value somewhere else.
The revenants too, I think, is big because it's kind of like, as a musician, who the musicians respect may not be who the people respect. And I think that is what bothers me the most, where it's like, if you use Little Brother as an example, everyone from that era is never talking down on Little Brother. You know? Ninth is still obviously not in the group anymore, but you know, he's still well respected.
Yeah.
You know, Fonte bringing like rapping and singing kind of to the forefront. Yeah. So it's like other musicians will give them their respect. And I think that I want the kind of audience to match that. But maybe I'm asking too much.
I also agree with that. And I think that the most that I can do right now is champion
those guys.
And champion not only that, but the mindset of like, yo, bro, why can't you play D'Angelo in the club? Like if this is
you don't gotta tell me.
Like, why can't
you don't gotta tell me?
Like, what happened to like playing a bunch of like fire tracks that nobody's heard and everybody's like, yo, what is this? People don't even do that anymore. Like there was a time where I was going out and it was fun. It was really fun. But then after a while, I'm like, yo, I kind of want to listen to this though. Like, and this would slap right now. And it's not even a thing at DJs. Like, I know it, like they're doing their thing. Like, but it's more so like, I think there should be more options. Like, there should be more things where like we go out to dance and it's like, it doesn't have to be a themed night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You can just hear different records.
Yeah, and I think...
Listen, what you're saying is why I don't get the aux nowhere. I used to be the aux god. Like, it's 3 scrolls on my phone from catching everybody's aux. I don't do that no more.
Yeah.
Because whatever I'm tuned into that week, that month, I'm playing that. So if you guys are playing Gunna at the party and I'm listening to Pastor Shirley Caesar when I'm at home,
yo, bro,
you're going to get Pastor Shirley Caesar.
Even at the listening session, bro, like I knew that, like, I knew what music I wanted to play coming in. I'm like definitely gonna play like a lot of these like some 90s R&B records even some that people probably don't know. And then like I'm gonna play gospel music. Yeah. And I played a few gospel tracks and like
now you know I was here for it.
You know what I'm saying? And
I was here for it.
Like I think I'm not saying you have to play gospel at the club, but I am saying that there should just kind of be the option that like if you bro, what changed my mind is there was a DJ like a long time, I think maybe 2015, 16, I went to a party. It was called #that. This DJ Flex of all trades, like he used to be my DJ. He's like my brother's friends and stuff like that. So he had this party, he had another DJ there. And this guy was DJing. It was one Sunday, and he mixed Stomp into the set.
Don't get me started.
And bro, that changed my whole that day is so clear. I'm like, this guy playing Stomp right now,
Crazy.
And that I think it was DJ Dark Knight. But I was young and like,
and you're like, yo, he's doing this right now.
I'm like, this is crazy. So like, ever since then, I've always kind of had that thing in my mind. And as of recent, it's just been like, yo, like this will slap at a party, or like people could dance to this, but like I don't even know if people are really dancing anymore, or just bouncing, or like I can't really gauge
and you know what's funny? You say that because that was what made me stop getting on the aux, because I was like, you guys are not dancing in the first place, so you guys can't complain about whatever I'm playing.
Yeah.
If I hop on the aux and I start playing Maxwell, if you're not dancing in the first place, what are you complaining about? You know, like,
and maybe you don't even have to dance. Maybe sometimes
just vibe.
Yeah, like there's just so much good music, and I think the most I could do is to champion the idea of like, yo, maybe we just need to change what we think is a hit, because hits could be anything. when I made It's Not How It Sounds, I knew, I'm like, yo, Dream is gonna be one of the singles.
Yeah.
And it's the only like slow soul song on the record. And like very influenced by gospel. And I'm like, and it was the biggest song on because I just like the music is good.
Yeah.
People are gonna
have to be a certain BPM.
Yeah. It could just be there's just too many, and like because of that song, that's how I ended up kind of being, you know, like discovered to work on bigger projects, you know? So people just gotta just do what they feel, not do it like someone's like, yeah, this one's gonna hit though, like because of this and this. It's like, yo, what do you feel like needs to come first?
I think you are one of the artists that helps with my show starting out, the radio show.
Really?
Because first of all, just the quality of music. But I would play songs on my show. Obviously, you know, we're Canadian CanCon, so you know, at least half the songs gotta be Canadian. And people would hit me and say like, yo, what was that? Who was that? And the idea was like Canadian music sounded a certain way. Yeah. You know? And I would play songs from people like you or Patrick Kabongo, even Sean Leon at the time. And it fit right in to the set where it was like, I might play you right beside Brent Faiyaz. Yeah. And it's not like, oh, the Canadian record sounds like it's...
Yo, and that's a... Yo, bro. Listen, that's the thing. I think big conversation of reason has been like the sound of here. Yeah. And like there is a sound here, but I also think that there's a lot of sounds here. And there's a lot of like dynamic sounds here, and that I think that need to be looked at more than even having the conversation or trying to prove to other people if we have a sound or not. I don't think that matters, because even what our regional sound is not my sound, but I'm from here.
And there's so many people who are from here making different sounds that sound good.
And I'm like, bro, like we're also from here. We're born here, like, but we don't sound like, so like who, like, let's not argue about that right now. That's not the important thing. The important thing is like, yo, champion who you think is fire. Like there's so much stuff, and like, bro, listen, man, it's been a headache. It's been a headache. I'm not even gonna lie. Like there's just too.
No, I think it's a little too much confusion, and I think too it's like the understanding of an artist you may not have heard of could have better music than an artist you have heard of. And I think like that is changing. We are growing into like a new music culture where people do want to learn new music. I think TikTok really helped with that, of like finding new records, finding new artists. But I do think there is still that connotation of like, if I heard of this person, how good could their music be?
Yeah.
And I think
like, that's a big thing. And like, that's what's kind of like, I can't lie, it's almost stopped me in ways where like, there's certain things maybe I wouldn't do or wouldn't want to kind of, you know, say, or because like people are gonna be like, yo, but who is this guy? But if we want to do that, I've done this, I've done this. Like, if we want to do that, but like, I think, that mentality has to stop. Like,
it's there, it exists, and I think it is slowly changing.
Yeah.
You know, I do think like TikTok is helping with that, but I think there are still people who it's like, if I haven't heard of them, how good could they possibly be?
I think people need to open, you know, allow some new, like, be the first to like somebody. You know what I mean? Like, that was a big issue for me coming up.
Yeah.
Like, just nobody wanted to be first to...
Which is crazy. Like I said,
just be first, bro. It's cool.
I love you. I have a great track record. So many of the artists I was like first on have become huge stars.
Yeah.
So I'm here all the time. Let's see what you got with the ice cream. Seems like you're pretty much done. Okay. That's basically finished. Yeah.
I can't. I don't want to... I think this would just be too much
too OD.
to drink it. Like, just for myself, I don't know if we're trying to...
That's basically done. So before we got here, we have the segment on the radio show we call Wednesday Wisdom. Look for a motivational quote or saying either you remind yourself of or the people around you. So what is that quote for you?
Quick question before I say the last time we did the interview, did you ask me that?
I did.
Do you remember what I said?
I don't remember what you said. That was a long time ago. Because
I feel like it's the same thing that I'm about to say right now.
We could splice it.
I was just listening to... It could be the same thing. I just feel like I said it. But anyways, I was just listening to Kirk Franklin on the way here, and
Go.
he'll never put more on me than I can bear.
Shout out,
like,
my
and like
man.
that's something that every time it gets too difficult, like that kind of gives me like, okay, I'm still alive. Like, do something. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
You might be one of the first person to quote a song for Wednesday Wisdom. Also, huge tune. If you don't know what song he's talking about, please.
Never put more on me. Yeah, come on, bro.
Oh yeah, huge track. Yeah, that's a good one. I think like that. Obviously, it's gospel, so it's different. But I think of that song of like what people say in their lyrics and how lyrics have power.
Yeah,
and oftentimes a lot of music fans, music listeners don't always catch the lyrics of a song. That's why I talked about having the story being told without the lyrics. Yeah. And why I think lyrics are important is because this is something you're repeating over and over again. Like you're saying, this is something that you're speaking into your world, whether you like it or not. So if you want to speak Rack City into your world, of course, I hope that goes well for you.
Absolutely.
But I think a message like this speaking into your world has a lot of power. So I love that this is where we're ending. Listen, the album's coming out. What's the day you have?
October 31st.
Oh my God, that's just around the corner.
Yeah, next week.
It's crazy. It's October 31st, and yesterday it was hot as hell outside.
Yo, it was actually hot.
No, I mean,
it was actually hot.
I want to walk with my friend and we're talking. We're like, global warming is kicking our ass.
Yo, listen, bro.
Because all these,
I don't want to say it, but it's crazy.
All these flowers are in bloom in ways that we've never seen before. Like, if you guys go home and sleep, like you're gonna see some flowers in bloom that you're like, this is insane.
Yo, you know what the thing is? It was hot, and then I go outside last night and there's bare leaves on the ground, like half the leaves in 10 minutes.
No.
So I don't know what's going on.
No, it's very picturesque. I know someone's killing some crazy photo shoots right now.
Yeah.
Because the leaves on the ground is a big mood, and the trees changing color is a big mood. I want to thank everyone for joining us today on the Cool Table. If you want to listen to the radio show, you can hear us every Wednesday at 11 a.m., 12:80 a.m. in Toronto, metradio.ca online. You can find us on the interwebs at The Cool Table Live, on Instagram at The Cool Table, on YouTube. You can find me on TikTok at adrielsmiley.com. And until next time, know yourself, know your worth.